Thank you, Madam Chair. Admiral, welcome. Thank you for your service and congratulations on your nomination. As you and I discussed earlier this week, I am incredibly grateful for the heroism and service of the incredible men and women of the Coast Guard. My home state of Texas sees that every day, but we saw it in clear relief in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, where the men and women of the Coast Guard demonstrated remarkable courage and saved an extraordinary number of lives. And so thank you for your service and the service of your colleagues. One topic I'm very concerned about, and you know because we talked about this at length, is the impact of the Biden administration's policies of forced vaccines on the armed services across the board. In August of last year, the Secretary of Defense directed the secretaries of the military departments to immediately begin full vaccination of all active duty and ready reserve members of the armed forces. And consistent with that, the Commandant issued an order for the Coast Guard to be vaccinated. I'm hearing concerns from men and women in the Coast Guard about how that is being implemented. And so I wanted to ask you, number one, how many Coast Guard personnel have requested a medical exemption from the vaccine mandate?
So 96% of the workforce has been vaccinated. With regard to medical exemptions, we had about 45 people ask for those. Religious accommodation, we had over 1,300 people request religious accommodations. Okay,
and for both of those categories, how many have been granted, how many have been denied, and how many are still pending?
So we've granted 45 temporary medical exemptions. We are in the process of now working of the over 1,300 religious accommodations. Over 900 of those were subsequently appealed. We're still working through the appeal authority there. We've granted 4 religious accommodations and continue to work through very deliberately through the process so that each one of those requests is handled on its individual merits.
So I want to make sure I understand the numbers. The 45 on medical exemptions, is that how many asked for them or how many were granted?
So how many were granted? I don't know the total number that were asked for on the medical exemption. We can get you that number.
Okay, yeah, I would ask you to follow up with that number of how many were asked for, how many have been granted, how many have been denied, and how many are still pending adjudication. On the religious exemption, you gave the number 1,300. Is that how many were asked for, or how many? You said 900 are appealed, so were those denied, or what does that number reflect?
1,333 were asked for. Those were processed, and all of those have been notified back, and 942 of those were subsequently appealed. They were denied.
So of the
not the appeals, I'm sorry, the original religious accommodations were denied.
Of the 1,300 requests for religious exemptions, how many were granted?
There were 4 granted.
That's a fairly stunningly low rate. Why is the Coast Guard only granting 4 requests for religious exemptions out of 1,300?
So we've got a process that considers each request on its merits. I don't have the specifics of each of the cases, but if there was no grounds for the request, then they were not approved. And again, and then the appeal, again, another process that looks through, is there merit for the religious accommodation?
Let me ask you, how would you respond to a young man or woman serving in the Coast Guard or considering serving in the Coast Guard who looks at those numbers out of 1,300 requests, sees only 4 granted? How would you respond to that person who said, well, it's obvious that the Coast Guard doesn't put a whole lot of priority, a whole lot of emphasis on my religious liberty. If they're granting 4 out of 1,300, that doesn't sound like a fair and straight up process just on the face of it.
You know, the Coast Guard is committed to our workforce and to those who want to continue to serve. The vaccine mandate was a general lawful order. We have an obligation to continue to operate the service in a ready and responsible manner, and we've been focused on doing that. We have a culture of respect in the service, and we look forward to welcoming all to the service.
Well, our military branches have had a consistent challenge dealing with religious liberty for servicemen and women. It has been a priority for Congress. It has been a priority for me. I've multiple times introduced and passed legislation with bipartisan support directing the military branches to protect the religious liberty of the men and women who defend the nation. And I will say, on the face of it, the numbers you're reporting are deeply, deeply concerning, and it suggests a confluence between two misguided political priorities of this administration. The vaccine mandate, even if the consequence of it is, and these 1,300, if the appeals don't succeed, is it your intention to fire these men and women, and how will that impact readiness of the Coast Guard?
So we are working through the appeal process and, subsequent sort of employment determinations, but the priority being the operational readiness of the service, and we will not move forward with this in a manner that erodes the readiness and ability to operate the service.
Well, I very much hope that you do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you